So, folks, it is Hump Day, and blessedly, just a little bit of house cleaning. We're going to be doing some live coverage of the Republican National Convention, which is next week. We haven't quite figured out what we're going to do. All I can tell you is that my understanding is that Ron DeSantis has no speaking engagement, which is nice. And if I remember correctly, the RNC is it in Florida? Where is it?
It's in Milwaukee.
Oh, it's in Milwaukee. That's right.
Remember? He should force
That's
DeSantis to debate him on stage.
Yeah, because remember Trump
Get up here, Ron.
crapping on the city. Right?
I think Nikki Haley has not been invited, even never mind to speak. I don't even think she got an invitation to the RNC.
No, her spokesperson said she was not even invited.
Well, no.
I sent the invitation to her husband.
It's really going to be like CPAC is really what it's going to be.
Yeah,
But
mixed
it's
with a
gonna be-
Trump family reunion. Like, I'm sure every member of the family will be speaking.
The only thing that I think is going to be interesting is to see how much they try and project that they don't want an abortion ban, that they've never heard of Project 2025. The Heritage Foundation, what's that? There's going to be, I don't know. That's really going to be the suspense.
Well, their pivot to trying to look less extreme, unfortunately, is working right now. They're lying, but
Let's see how long they're able to maintain it.
Yes.
Exactly. And hopefully this convention will serve as a reminder as to how insane they are, because right now, obviously, the focus in the media is on one thing and one thing only.
Yeah, that's right. And speaking of that one thing, it really depends on moment to moment as to where the Democratic caucus in the House and the Senate is on this. They're saying one thing behind closed doors. They're saying another thing publicly. It's unclear whether this is a strategic or tactical. I doubt it. But who knows? Here is Nancy Pelosi going on Morning Joe. And when you go on Morning Joe to talk about this, it is clear you have an audience of one. I mean, the idea that we keep saying this, and we've said this for years, but about Donald Trump, and now we have to say it about Joe Biden, it really begins to make you think that maybe there's something wrong systemically.
Yeah.
But this is the situation that we're in. And here is Nancy Pelosi on Morning Joe. Well, watch, and you can, we will talk about what we think this is.
Happen. So, Madam Speaker, you just went through the president's record, but let me ask you about the current moment. Does he have your support to be the head of the Democratic ticket?
As long as the president it's up to the president to decide if he is going to run. We're all encouraging him to make that decision because time is running short. I think overwhelming support of the caucus. It's not for me to say. I'm not the head of the caucus anymore, but he's beloved. He is respected, and people want him to make that decision, not me.
He has said he has made the decision. He has said firmly this week he is going to run. Do you want him to run?
I want him to do whatever he decides to do, and that's the way it is. Whatever he decides, we go with. I think it's really important, and I would hope everyone would join in to let him deal with this NATO conference. This is a very big deal. Over 30 heads of state are here. He is the host of it, and that means not just hosting, it means orchestrating the discussion and setting the agenda, and he's doing so magnificently. And I've said to everyone, let's just hold off. Whatever you're thinking, either tell somebody privately, but you don't have to put that out on the table until we see how we go this week.
Woo-hoo-hoo! We need you to be Grand Mamala of the country, Nancy Pelosi. Let's go!
I mean, look, I think all this is she's refusing to answer the question and basically in denial that Biden has made his decision. She is. I mean, this is what she's doing. She's basically saying to Biden, like, we have not we, as in the lawmakers, have not resigned ourselves to this being over. However, we are making the tactical decision not to say anything right now, so that you can do this NATO thing and contemplate what you're, give this a little more thought. And, there's obviously hurdles for him this week, as in he's got to give a press conference Thursday night. Do we know what time that press conference is?
It's at night. That's the concerning part, since we know that Biden's best hours are between 10 and 4, right?
That's according to reporting. Yeah. But,
Yeah.
They're basically saying she seems to be saying, we want our people to keep their powder dry, because at one point it has become clear that this has been completely mishandled by everyone, really, on some level, because there does not, the idea that George Clooney is putting an op-ed in the paper saying this to Joe Biden, when Joe Biden is out there saying the elites want me to quit and I'm not going to quit because I'm for the little guy. Regardless of what your thoughts are about that, in reality, it makes for a good story for him to tell himself and a good story for him to tell other people. I don't know how effective it is, but George Clooney, if he's not going to raise money for Joe Biden, can definitely articulate that to Joe Biden directly.
Well, he said they're trying to ramp up public pressure, and I get what you're saying. It's self-serving, but he also said in the piece that he saw him at a fundraiser a few weeks ago, and that he was not the Biden he knew before. He was the Biden we saw at the debate. That's what the op-ed said. So he's not clearly getting through.
No, well, I mean, he can.
And neither is Pelosi.
Well, he can articulate that, directly. But at one point, you start to hurt the effort to get him out when you're you're a bad messenger for it. Now,
I think it's marginal. Yeah.
There's an organization called Pass the Torch Biden. I don't know if this is an effort that can go anywhere, but if I'm George Clooney and I have the ability to sink a couple $1 million into something, that's what I would do. I would have it be a more, public outcry. It's just a petition, I guess, and you can call on your members of Congress. But be that as it may, that seems to be now the next level of tactics or strategy that the Democratic lawmakers have, which is, stay quiet. Stay like you're unresolved in this situation. Michael Bennett was on television being a lot more forceful, but, Michael Bennett. And so that's where we're at this point. Now, does it make a difference if Joe Biden drops out this week versus next week? I mean, it would be pretty funny if the Republicans had to have a convention all week criticizing Joe Biden, and then all of a sudden it's Kamala Harris. But
that's what I would do.
Yeah, well, I do think that they're hurting at a certain point, though. This is every day that goes by with Biden still in this race is making this about the Democrats as opposed to talking about Trump and trying to defeat him, which is, I think, everyone here's primary motivation. And you mentioned this earlier, but Cook Report, which is really well respected in Washington, has now moved Minnesota, New Hampshire from likely Democrat to lean Democrat, Nebraska's 2nd district from likely Democrat to lean Democrat, Nevada, Arizona, and Georgia from toss-up to lean Republican. And now Politico is leaking out that report, as you mentioned earlier, Sam, about New York Democrats saying we're now a battleground state, which is a bit hyperbolic, but it's also the polls will not stop trending in this direction. And it's just, is Biden going to include the rest of us in this suicide pact, or is he going to go gracefully as he can? Nancy Pelosi is not answering there when he says he's made his decision. She's like, well, not the decision that we want you to be making, right? Axios keeps saying that Pelosi is one of the only people that can get through to Biden. So that's what I think she's doing there. And politically, we have a lot of issues with her, but at least she does somewhat have a sense of what's practical.
And who knows what Hakeem Jeffries and Schumer are doing? They're just who knows.
Right.
But this is the situation we're in. At one point, they start to realize. I mean, that's what's going on here. This is a massive game of chicken, except for it's cumulative, right? I mean, if one person turns off, then okay, both people survive in that situation. But the problem is that the more people come out and and I'm talking about like the Hollywood stars or even lawmakers come out and attack Biden without actually ending his presidency, the more it damages his chances of winning. This is the dilemma, right? When you come for the king, you've got to deal them a death blow or you're in trouble.
And another quote about kings from George R.R. Martin is, "Any man who must say I am a king is no true king." And Biden and basically Pelosi coming out and trying to half-heartedly cheerlead for how well Biden's doing at NATO or how Biden is having to come out and defend himself. I mean, even the fact that he has to do that is hurting the Democrats and his candidacy. The weakness that this portrays is repellent to voters who are not necessarily as engaged. They think that this comes off as a crap show, and it's like, oh, I know Trump's bad, but damn, they've been lying to us the whole time about this. It creates a whole new set of problems that just don't need to be there for the Democrats, and the polling is going in one direction. And I'll also say, if you want to say democracy's on the ballot and democracy's so important, the fact that I know there's no democratic mechanism right now, but not listening to people and going into closed rooms and making these determinations outside of what polling and what constituents say also does not signal an openness to democracy, because democracy is also responsiveness.
I know, but I don't know if that, I mean, in terms of what constituents say, people voted. Now, they didn't vote this week. They voted over the past 6 months, but it's, I think, at one point, these decisions are going to have to be made behind closed doors. And it's really just a matter of encouraging this guy.
There's one decision to be made behind closed doors, and it's Biden saying, I'm not going to stand for a second term. Like, he needs to make that behind his own closed door and come out and tell us about it.
But voters made that decision without having all the facts. Information was withheld from the public.
Who knows where he was 6 months ago?
Sure.
I mean, there's never been an election in the history of the country where the voters had all the facts. I don't think that exists. So it's hard to sort of say we're not going to trust that primary as opposed to any other primary. I mean, believe me, if it was up to me, I would be making the decision as to who's the nominee, and we would have just been finishing Sanders' second term.
Yeah, you should just call your buddy Soros and get this over with, Sam. It's getting ridiculous.
I should have spoken to Soros a long time ago about this. Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.